homework last night was SOL review, and these are pulled SOL questions, so there are a few of them that I kind of want to go over with you before you take your SOL next week. So a couple questions I want to talk about. First one, it says, based on the zeros, which best represents the graphed function? Notice I circled the word zeros. Zeros mean the exact same thing as what? They mean the exact same thing as x-intercepts. So if I look on this parabola, where are my x-intercepts? They're here and they're here. Notice I said x equals 1 and x equals 3. But notice my answers are in parentheses. So in order to get your answer out of parentheses, you remember always have to do the opposite. So to get x equals 1, this has to be x minus 1. And to get x equals 3, this has to be x minus 3. So which answer choice has x minus 1 and x minus 3? Well, D does, which is why I picked D. So let's go and look at the next one. Number 2, Travis would like to buy some toys to donate to charity. He plans to buy $9 at D price, which is why I wrote 9D. And then he decides to buy 2 cars at C, so 2C, and 3 trains at T dollars, which is why I wrote 3T. Which expression represents the total cost? So the word total means add, which is why I added them together. Number 3, I think we should hopefully be okay with. I do want to real quickly talk about number 4. It says, identify each expression that is a factor of this polynomial. Out of all those words, what word means the most? Factor. When you hear the word factor, first question you ask yourself, is there a GCF? Yes, the GCF is 2, so if I divide everybody by 2, I get 2x squared minus x minus 1. I now have to factor the leftovers by doing the x method. So I'm going to do slide and divide. Factors of negative 2 that make negative 1, negative 2 and 1. I now have to divide by 2. So I have 2x plus 1, I have x minus 1. My GCF has to go on the outside. So notice when I clicked my factors, I collect 2x plus 1, x minus 1, and I also clicked 2. Go ahead and flip your paper for me, please. If I go over number 5, notice it gave me a key. A big X is x squared, a rectangle is x, and these little tiny things are 1. It says, which model correctly represents the product of x plus 3 and x plus 4? So product means multiply, so x plus 3 and x plus 4 are product, they're being multiplied together, so I have to double distribute. So I have x squared plus 4x plus 3x plus 12. So I have x squared plus 7x plus 12. So I want to use this model and determine which one represents this answer. So looking at that answer, how many x squareds do I have? Well, I only have 1. So A, B, C, and D, I can only have 1x squared. X squared is the big square. So notice in A, I have more than one of those big squares. It's definitely not A. In B, I have 1x squared. C, I have 1x squared. D, I have 1x squared. If I now move to the rectangles, X, I have to have 7 x's, so I have to have 7 rectangles. So if I look at C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and one down here, 8, definitely not C. If I look at B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, it's way more than 7. It's definitely not B. So I know by process of elimination it's D, but if I check one last time, I need to have 12 singles. So singles are these little cubes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. If I check out this one, notice I have to plug in a fraction. So I would do 2 over 3 squared plus 3 times 2 over 3 minus 2. Now if I had a calculator, I would honestly just do all of this in my calculator. But if I don't, which I don't right now, I'm going to distribute this. It becomes 4 over 9 plus, this is over 1, so I have 6 over 3 minus 2. 4 over 9 I can't simplify. 6 over 3 I can simplify to 2. So I have 4 over 9 plus 2 minus 2. Notice plus 2 minus 2 is just going to make 0, so I'm left with 4 over 9. Again, if you are doing this on your SOL, you could probably turn this into a decimal, or you could type it in your calculator exactly as you see it. How you type fractions in your calculators, you would just do 2 divided by 3. Flip your paper. Oops, sorry. Let's see. Let's talk about number 9. Number 9, which expression is equivalent? So I see I have a 2 out here, I have to distribute it. So I have 3 squared. When you distribute, you perform multiplication. 5x to the negative second. 3 squared is 9x to the negative 8, 5x to the negative second. Now 9 and 5 make 45, but I have negative exponents. Where do they go? To the bottom. So 9 and 5 make 45. I have x to the 8th and x to the second. So if I combine those, I have 45 over x to the 10th. So my answer is C. If I look over at number 10, it says, which polynomial is equivalent to this? Assume the divisor does not equal 0. Ladies and gentlemen, whenever you see this, it's garbage. Cross it out. They're trying to confuse you. Division, I haven't seen that. Let's turn it into a fraction. When I have a division symbol, they're trying to trick you by doing this. Can I split up my fraction? No, because I have 2 terms in the denominator. So how do I solve this? I have to factor the top. So I got to do slide and divide. 18 and negative 9. So negative 6 and negative 3. I'm going to divide by 18 and simplify. I get negative 1 over 6, negative 1 over 3. So 3n minus 1, 6n minus 1, all over 3n minus 1. 3n minus 1's cancel out. I'm left with 6n minus 1 as my answer. If any of your binomials do not cross out, you did it wrong, so be careful. If I look at this one, this is number 11, negative 2 times the cube root of 64 plus negative 5 squared. Notice this is just over a. This cube root doesn't go over the whole thing. It just goes over a. A lot of people mess that up. In your calculator, how you get a cube root is you hit the math button and then you hit the number 4. If you didn't know the cube root of 64, it's 4. So now I have negative 2 and then negative 5 squared is 25. So I have negative 8 plus 25, which when I add it together makes 17. So the big thing I wanted to stress with this is that cube root is only over a. It's not the whole thing. So be very careful. Go ahead and flip. Number 13, systems of equations. When you have 2 equations, you have to do either the substitution or elimination. This problem is smarter to do the substitution method because y is by itself. So every time I see a y in the second equation, I'm going to plug it in. So 7x plus 4, I see a y. So negative x plus 2 gets plugged in, equals negative 1. So 7x, I'm going to distribute. Negative 4x plus 8 equals negative 1. Combine like terms, 3x plus 8 equals negative 1. I'm going to subtract 8. 3x equals negative 9. X equals negative 3, so it's B. If I look at number 14, which property justifies the steps between 3 and 4? So how does 3 and 4 look different? N plus O turns to N. That's the identity property. You have to have those memorized. Go ahead and flip your paper. If I do number 18, I see a line, so I think M equals 2 over 7, B equals negative 2. So I first plot B on negative 2. So if I look on A, negative 2 is there. That's not A. Negative 2 is there. Negative 2 is on that line. Notice negative 2 isn't even on that line, so I could cross out D. So obviously these lines are the same, but the only thing that's different is the shading. And the shading is here and here. Less than sign. means you shade down. So that's why my answer is C. If I go over and look at number 20, a total of 243 adults and children are at a movie theater. So if I take all my adults and all my children, they better equal 243. There are 109 more adults than children. So adults is 109 plus whatever the kids are. Which system of equations represents the number of adults and number of children? So all I wanted to know was these equations. So notice A represents the number of adults, and B, it should be B, not C, should be children, which is why it's C. Go ahead and flip for me, please. If I look at number 21, identify which points are ordered pairs to our solution to the system. I have to take each of these ordered pairs and plug them in for x and y and say yes, yes. So if I plug -3 in for y and 1 in for x, I get -3 is 1/2 plus 1. Is -3 greater than 1.5? Oh, I'm sorry, that should be a -1, negative, so that should just be 1/2. Is -3 greater than 1/2? No, so it's definitely not that one. So now I'm going to try 1, 2. Plug in 2. 1/2 times 1 plus 1. So 2, this is 1/2 plus 1. So 2 is greater than 1.5? Yes. So now I got to plug it into the bottom equation. So y is 2. X is 1, 6. So clean it up. Is 5 less than or equal to 6? Yes, so I circled that one. So now, let's try the next one. I'm going to plug 0 in for y, 2 in for x. I get 0, 1/2 of 2 is 1. Is 0 greater than or equal to 2? Nope, definitely not that one. And if I do the last one, let's do this color. I'm going to plug in 6 for y and 4 for x. So 6 is greater than, I have 2 plus 1. 6 is greater than 3. Yes, so now I got to plug it into the bottom one. So 6 plus 3 times 4 is less than or equal to 6. Clean it up. I have 18 less than or equal to 6. No, which is why that's not circled, because you have to say yes, yes. Real quick, look at 24. What are the real roots of the following? Out of all those words, I see the word roots. Roots mean x-intercepts. X-intercepts. Looking at this problem, how do I know I have to factor? Because x is squared. If I look at the equation, represents a horizontal line passing through that point. A horizontal line looks like this. Is that a Hoy line or a Vux line? Well, it's a Hoy line. And does Hoy line start with x equals or y equals? It's y equals. Look at that ordered pair. What's your y value? 5. So it's B. If I come down here and do this one, I'm going to actually cover up what I did, but I'm doing number 28. I'm just going to do it up here. So I have this problem. I have a few options. So what you could do is you could split up your fractions. So 6p over 6 plus 4 over 6 equals 4p over 3 minus 8 over 3. And simplify. P plus, that's 2 over 3 plus 4p over 3 minus 8. So now I'm going to get rid of fractions by multiplying everybody by 3. So I have 3p plus 2 equals 4p minus 24. And then I'd solve. I'd add 24 to the other side. I get 26. And then I would subtract 3p. Oh, I clearly messed something up. Oh, that should have been an 8 over 3, so that shouldn't have been a 24. I bet you I can't erase now. Nope, I can't, so I'll try to black. That should have been 8 over 3, which crosses those out. So that would have just been an 8, so I'm going to add 8, so that becomes a 10. I'm going to subtract 3p, so p equals 10, which is D. Another way you could have done this is you have fraction equals fraction, you could have cross multiplied. So I could have said 3 times 6p plus 4 equals 6 times 4p minus 8. I just did the butterfly method and cross multiplied. And then I would distribute and solve, and I'd get the exact same answer. If I come over in 27, it says the graph of that is shown. What are the solutions to that? Ladies and gentlemen, whenever it says solutions and it's talking about a quadratic, it wants to know where its x-intercepts are. So its x-intercepts are here and here, which is -2 and 4, which is why it is C. If I look at this last page, the length of a rectangle is 3 times its width. The perimeter is greater than 48. Which inequality expresses all possible lengths? So I would draw a picture, and I would say, okay, here's my width. I know my length is 3 times my width. How do you find the perimeter? You add up all the sides. So 3 plus w is 4, 4 plus 3 is 7, 7 plus 1 is 8. So I have 8w, if I can write, w is greater than 48. Because it's greater than 48. So divide by 8, w is greater than 6. That's my width, but notice the direction says length. So if my width is 6, I have to do 3 times 6, which is 18, which is why it's C. Last one I'll go over is number 32. Using the ordered pair shown, create a relationship using the 3 ordered pairs with the domain of that. So notice I highlighted the word domain. Domain means x. So I want to find all the x values of those. So I circled these values because they all have the x. Their x values match what was in the problem. If there are any problems I did not go over, please make sure you clarify with your classmates. If you have any other questions, make sure you come see me.